Welcome back to another Post-Media Ottawa Senators panel. I'm Bruce Garrioch. Pleased to be joined today by Claire Hanna of TSN in Ottawa. And Claire, welcome to the Post-Media Senators panel. And as we sit here today, the Senators have played one game in 23 days, and we're both hopeful that they will face the Calgary Flames on Thursday night to start what should be a string of games. As someone who's played athletics at a high level, how difficult are these postponements on the players, Claire?
I can't even imagine it, Bruce, because when you're an athlete, personally, how we trained was obviously we'd work on our faults, trying to, build our strengths up, but we'd also reserve a component of training or video to studying the team we were going to be playing and preparing specifically for their talent skill set. And when that's constantly changing, or here you are a day before preparing for a team, and then all of a sudden you're not prepared, that game's postponed, it's exhausting. I can't even imagine it. I only had one game in my entire career that was postponed, and it was so frustrating. And it was a weather delay thing. And so to have at this point, I think it's 12 for the team. It's so hard to maintain that focus, Bruce. Think about it. You're focusing for one team, that changes. You focus for another team, that changes. And to have no ability to put that energy into a game, it'd be so frustrating.
What do you think? Guys like Brady Tkachuk, Josh Norris, Thomas Chabot, Drake Batherson. These are young players, but what kind of effect do you think it has on those guys having not played? They last played the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-0 loss on January 1. Before that, they played December 18th in Philadelphia. This has been a long stretch of inaction for those guys who at the time they took the break, Claire, those guys were rolling.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I mean, when they took the break, there was also going to be a small Christmas break built into that. So I think that's got to be, a little easier for them to handle because they knew that their momentum would be stifled. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a little bit easier for these guys because they're younger. They know that they've got a lot of years ahead of them, that they've got a lot of time to grow as a team. We see that trajectory already building in little stretches like this. If you were older guys and you knew that maybe was one of your last chances, man, that would be tough. But at least I think for these guys, they can use this as a learning experience. And, I think adversity makes better athletes all the time. And they're going to use this down the road to at least maybe realize how grateful they are to play games this season. But I think it can make them stronger in other seasons too.
I look at this situation that they're in, and obviously it is going to cost some players an opportunity to go to the Olympics. I mentioned the likes of Chabot and Tkachuk. Tim Stützle certainly would have represented Germany. Mad Sogard from their American Hockey League team helped Denmark to get into the Olympics. He was going to have the opportunity to go for his country. How do you think the players feel about that? And I'll get to what I want to next.
Well, Bruce, I have no doubt that they're really upset. I think about somebody like Thomas Chabot, who's been having a great season. I don't know. I think a lot of people thought he was a bubble player. Maybe he was going to for sure be on it. Who knows? But this opportunity comes around once every 4 years, and you don't know when you're going to peak as an athlete. You don't know how injuries might impact you. You don't know who is coming up behind you, who might take that spot 4 years from now. It's just, I love this quote. There's somebody once said, you can only represent your country in two ways, as an athlete or in the military. And this is just one of those spots that is now being taken away from them. But they can't say it publicly because obviously there's the NHLPA and the NHL. They don't want to piss off. So I think they're in a tough spot. So I really feel for them. I really, really feel for them. And but these Olympics were not going to be like other Olympics. And so maybe you use that as motivation to try to be there come 2026.
Do you feel at this point, as we sit here today, the Senators have 14 games have been postponed, 12 games that have to be rescheduled. 10 of their last 11 have been postponed. Now they will make up the one in Edmonton Saturday night. But do you feel like the NHL is going to get in a 82 game schedule? I personally am starting to wonder.
So I was trying to crunch the numbers, Bruce, last night. So they've played 29 games, and
Yep.
that's 35% of their season. But at this point, they should have played 41 games, I believe, or 42, which is
Yeah,
just
Monday would have
over the
been their
halfway.
41st game.
Yeah, so that's the halfway point, which is 50%. So you still have 15% of your season to make up right now. I know the February break is big, but it's starting to close in because of how many games they have to make up. And I don't think we're out of the woods yet because yes, they've got the Edmonton game that has been rescheduled to Saturday, but what if Edmonton keeps getting COVID cases and then it's postponed again? Like this this problem isn't over yet. And if these games continue to have to be rescheduled, I think that the league might have no choice but to be like, okay, well, where do we cut some to make sure we get the Stanley Cup in before August?
Or, I mean, the other possibility is to extend the season. But one of the maybe a week or two, but I personally don't feel they can go much longer because I feel, Claire, they have to have the season over by June 30th to retain any kind of interest. That is, as it is now. The draft is in July. Free agency, I think, is on my anniversary, July 15th.
Congrats.
Like no, but like it's being pushed already, I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't think August is an option, and I think neither do you.
No, but one other factor too, Bruce, as an athlete, you want your rhythm back. You want that normal schedule. And if you're playing into even late July or August, and you're one of those teams that happens to be in the Stanley Cup Championship, and then your off season's only a couple weeks, that's not good either. And that's a disadvantage to those teams, but the league to not have fresh athletes come September for training camp. So I think even that rhythm of the schedule needs to be reestablished because it's been totally out of skew for a couple seasons now.
And I look at one thing that could be sort of the next cancellation coming along could be the All Star weekend in Vegas. But if there was an All Star game, who do you think should be the Senators' representative after 29 games?
Thomas Chabot, he's been so consistent. He's been such a leader. And I think it would be a great reward for him, especially given that the Olympics has been taken away from the players. To me, he just deserves it. And as DJ Smith said, and a lot of other people around the team, he's just worked so hard this year on what he does away from the puck. And so I think, to me, he's been the most consistent, and look at the minutes he's played. He deserves it just
Okay.
for that reason alone. Give it to him.
Okay.
That's my
Okay,
guess.
but here's my take. He's been before, and I think if I think he's been before. Now I'm starting to wonder because Brady Tkachuk went the last time. He might have been hurt. My personal choice was Drake Batherson, and because I think Drake Batherson deserves the opportunity to go to an NHL All Star weekend. I think in a lot of ways. I don't think there's any question that Thomas Chabot has been their best and most consistent player. But I think Drake Batherson at an NHL All Star game would be interesting to watch because I think he's an underrated talent. And I honestly believe that if NHL players had gone to the Olympics, perhaps the one guy when they had to submit their list for drug testing that the Canadian Olympic management team would have wanted a do-over on was Drake Batherson because I think he's really emerged this season as a guy who deserves to be in that consideration.
Okay, so Bruce, then let's just rename it though, then All-Star Weekend to Underrated Player Weekend, okay?
Okay, you have got me there, but I just think he's a guy who's put himself on the radar screen, and he's a pretty smart player as well.
Fair.
Now we saw that when the Senators arrived in Calgary, they sent goaltender Philip Gustafson back to their American Hockey League affiliate in Belleville. They have Belleville has 4 games in the next 6 days. Kevin Mandolese has struggled as of late. Mad Sogard hasn't been at their best. I think this is something that goalie coach Zach Burke wanted to do was to get Gustafson some playing time because he hasn't played since December 7th. I believe that by the end of the year, Matt Murray will be the starter for the Ottawa Senators, and we'll have them in the hunt for a playoff spot. Thoughts?
Wait, is this where you want me to come in? You know what? He has the muscle memory of a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He knows what it takes. He knows what it's like to perform under pressure. I think a lot of us would like to see that translated to this season and with this team. I just, having heard what players say around Anton Forsberg, it sounds like he is the hardest working guy in the gym. And that elevates his team, that they feed off of that when they're on the ice with him, they play hard for him because they know the work he puts in behind the scenes. He's my guess for who's going to be the guy at the end of the year. And we've seen him have some spectacular games. So I just think that, and also back to Matt Murray, there's just been some unfortunate distractions around him this year. Being sent down to Belleville, that's got to bruise your ego. And I'm not saying he can't overcome that, but right now, when you look at the dynamics within a team, Forsberg just has this like clear, smooth path to becoming the number one guy and doesn't really have to overcome those doubts and the noise. So he's my vote.
Yeah, if he's not traded for a pick at the deadline.
As
an unrestricted free agent. No, you know what? And I think he's the kind of guy that you want to cheer for in Forsberg because of what he's been through, in and off and on waivers all the time, Claire. Went to 3 teams last year without even playing. 2 stints in Winnipeg, got signed by Edmonton, picked up on waivers by Carolina, then went to Winnipeg, never played a game, then came here, right? Like he has been a very good story for this team.
A guy with a chip on his shoulder is just, to me, a diamond. You don't want to lose a guy like that because you know how hard they're going to work. And they know what adversity is like, and they are just really grateful to be in a place. Anyways, you just solidified my vote in Forsberg.
Well, Claire, next time we have you on, we're going to talk about some games because hopefully by then we'll have some games. But I do know as we sit here today, we've found out that you're going to be helping out with some games, the Olympic Games for CBC, doing the aerial skiing coverage. That's obviously something you're very excited about.
Oh, I'm so excited. And Bruce, I had my first taste of Olympic coverage when I did play-by-play for beach volleyball this past summer. Freestyle aerial skiing is definitely out of my wheelhouse. I've never done a full triple off of a double kicker. Google that after. But I will be doing it alongside Deidre. I'll be doing it alongside Deidre Dion, who won a bronze medal at the 2002 Olympics. So I'm really pumped. And yeah, just the Olympics are magical, and I'm grateful to be a part of it in some way. And that makes me think about the athletes who can't go or who might test positive ahead of these games and not be able to compete. It's going to be just a very different style of games, but I hope we can still find some joy watching them and celebrating the athletes competing.
Well, and like I said to you yesterday, half the battle is going to be getting the athletes there safely and without testing positive, right?
Yeah. So scary. Think about it. As an athlete, you're like trying to prepare to be at your best, but in the back of your mind, you're just like, I can't get COVID. It's the weirdest mental battle, I'm sure, for these athletes.
Well, Claire, we appreciate your time. For the Post-Media Senators Panel in Ottawa, I'm Bruce Garrioch, pleased to be joined today by Claire Hanna of TSN.